We're reading from Kabbalah for the Student, Introduction to the book Panim Meirot Umasbirot on page 431. Item 1. You can ask questions live through Cap TV. Selected questions will be aired. Introduction to the book Panim Meirot Umasbirot, Item 1, page 431.
We decided to review this introduction once more because we didn't go over it too many times in past years, and still there are some very critical points here with regards to the process we're undergoing, especially the things that have to do with the shattering and the integration. So let's read, and we'll extract the principal things and try to summarize them and list them, and the things that have to do with our work, so it'll be more pronounced to us from this article.
Item 1. It is written at the end of the Mishnah, the Creator did not find a receptacle that holds a blessing for Israel, but peace. As it is written, the Lord will give strength unto His people, the Lord will bless His people with peace. There is a lot to learn here. First, how did they prove that nothing is better for Israel than peace? Second, the text explicitly states that peace is the blessing itself, as it is written, giving in strength and blessing in peace. According to them, it should have stated, giving in peace. Third, why was this phrase written to end of the Mishnah? Also, we need to understand the meaning of the words peace, strength, and what they mean. To interpret this article in its true meaning, we must go by a long way, for the heart of sayers is too deep to search. This means that all the issues of the Torah and the mitzvot bear revealed and concealed, as it is written, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in setting of silver. Indeed, the halachot are like grails of wine. When one gives one's friend a gift, a grail of wine, then both the insides and the outsides are important. This is because the grail has its own value, as does the wine inside it. The legends, however, are as apples. Their interior is eaten, and their exterior is thrown away. As the exterior is completely worthless, you find that all the worth and importance are only in the interior, the insides. So is the matter with legends. The apparent superficiality seems meaningless and worthless. However, the inner content concealed in the words is built solely on the bedrock of the wisdom of truth given to virtuous few. Who would dare extract it from the heart of the masses and scrutinize their ways, when their attainment is incomplete in both parts of the Torah called Pshat and Drush? In their view, the order of the 4 parts of the Torah, Pardes, begins with the Pshat, then the Drush, then Remez, insinuated, and in the end the Sod, secret, is understood. However, it is written in the Vilna Gaon prayer book that the attainment begins with the Sod. After the Sod part of the Torah is attained, it is possible to attain the Drush part, and then the Remez part. When one is granted complete knowledge of these 3 parts of the Torah, one is awarded the attainment of the Pshat part of the Torah. It is written, in Masechet Ta'anit. If one is rewarded, it becomes a potion of life to him. Not rewarded, it becomes a potion of death to him. Great merit is required in order to understand the pshat of the texts, since first we must attain the three internal parts of the Torah, which the pshat robs, and the pshat will not be parsed. If one has not been rewarded with it, one needs great mercy, so it will not become a potion of death for him. It is the opposite of the argument of the negligent in attaining the interior, who say to themselves, we settle for attaining the pshat. If we attain that, we will be content. Their words can be compared to one who wishes to step on the fourth step without first stepping on the first three steps.
What are we being told? That the whole Torah that we have in front of us is complete in itself, meaning godliness is revealed as a whole thing. However, it is revealed to us to the extent that we can feel it and sense it according to the law of equivalence between lights and vessels. And then we discover godliness gradually. Sod, drush, remez, pshat. These are the degrees from below upwards, from our world, from this world. When we rise from it in our attainment, in our world we don't discover anything. We have no understanding of the Torah at all. We think it's all fairy tales or stories. When we come to attain, when we rise to attain the Torah, then we rise from the stories to the level called secret, then drush, then remez, and then pshat. That's how it happens, if we advance correctly. And this is following according with the steps by which we discover godliness in the world's Asiyah, Yetzirah, Bria, Atzilut. Only in the world of Atzilut, when we rise above the Parsa, here, that's where we can discover the light of Chokhmah. Of course, it's through the light of Chasadim. And this is where the Tabur is, and that's Tzimtzum Aleph. So, only in Atzilut we reach the Pshat.
Can you explain what does it mean to enter the Sod and Drush and so on?
To enter it, meaning to study and learn and discover that this is called a degree of sod, secret, but I have a connection with it. I do know that I don't know the difference between this and that, or that I can't distinguish between this and that. It's like a baby or a little child that tries to understand what is this and what is that, and everything for him is a secret, but he's in contact with those things. Before that, we think it's all stories. We're not even in contact with it. We think that we know what the Torah is. We think it teaches us about ethics, about how to deal with your neighbor, or how to build your life here. We don't realize that the Torah is completely irrelevant to this world. It only talks about the correction of the evil inclination. I created the evil inclination, and the Torah is a spice for it. And our 613 desires that have to go corrections from reception to bestowal. And to the extent you correct them, you discover what it really is. Meaning, if you correct your degree of shorish, root, then you discover this level of secret. You still don't understand anything, but you already belong to it. And at the level of drush, you already demand. You demand to see how this is connected to that, and so on. It's not like being there passively, where you don't know where to push and what to do. Drush is when you begin to actively scrutinize things, classify things, like in our world. So then, instead of light of nefesh, you get light called ruach, spirit. Also translates as wind, because it moves. It provides motion. You already begin to move and advance. And this is level Aleph, 1, instead of root. Then there's the level of Remez, meaning you understand somehow that this is connected to this, that's connected to that. How? Because you already are in the world of Bria. You have vessels of Binah. You are already somehow similar to godliness. So you understand by way of like hints what is happening to you. It's still not revealed to you. It's concealed, but you do understand how it works. There are examples for it that they give, but that's called the second degree bit. That's the light of neshama. There is a feeling here. There's a feeling called that's the temple, the Holy of Holies. And here are the levels of Gimel and Dalet, 3 and 4, where everything becomes clear, open. Yes. Niv?
I don't really understand how is it possible that on the one hand there's revelation, on the other hand there's still concealment.
Well, I gave you an example from this life. What don't you understand? Can you be a child? Think that you're like a child. How he understands yet doesn't understand. How he... all this pardes is always with us. It's in my attitude to things. These things aren't clear to me. Those things are hinting something to me. These things are clear to me. It's always like that in this world too. Every degree, every level contains pardes, because in everything I approach there is havaya. Some things I understand, some things I don't. Something I understand through remez or through sod. We need to understand that sod is also a level of perception. I can't really point to anything, but I know that I belong to it. I know there's a big system here. I'm like an embryo. I nullify myself completely. I don't know anything else. I don't do any kind of criticism on the upper one. I only nullify myself, but I do it with understanding why I'm not criticizing, why I don't understand him. This is something I do research. You understand? So then what happens is that I have a lot of work here. I grow by that. I start having veins, so to speak, and until I have bones. Meaning, who am I? What am I? What do I belong to? Who is he? I begin to listen, to hear him. It is said that the embryo receives all the lights there are. And it says it sees from one end of the world to the other. The mother provides him with everything, and there's a candle lit on his head. This is what is written. But just on the degree of nefesh, it's a very exalted degree. What you have in all the other degrees is really just the same degree of conception that evolves. This is why it is so hard for us to attain that degree. You have to really squeeze the soul out of yourself. You actually attain the soul, but you have to squeeze yourself. After that, it only grows. You already have something in your hand. And then you just add more and more details to it. Yes.
If you ask a person on the street today, what is the Pardes, what is this, that, what does it remind you? He'll tell you, I remember he went mad because of that and something.
You see, the Kabbalists did a good job. They knew how to drive people away from studying. It's exactly what we're studying about in this article, why Kabbalists drive people away, all the people, away from studying Kabbalah. They did a great job and meticulously, because they knew that otherwise we won't complete the exile, and it must happen. There's no choice. We have to be in exile. Because the wisdom of Kabbalah was never revealed, even from Abraham through all the other generations. It was revealed through only just a small group of people from one to another, and then from Abraham to his group, and then until the ruin of the temple, there was no need to hide the wisdom of Kabbalah from people, besides in the last exile, because there was no disconnection in the previous exiles. In the exile of Babylon, they still had understanding and attainment. It's higher than the exile in Egypt. The whole story with Achashverosh there and so on, they had a revelation of spirituality at that point. Therefore, what does Baal HaSulam say? Even the Zohar that was revealed, without anyone understanding anything in it, it still caused trouble. Well, of course, it's a balance of the forces here in terms of how the providence works. But on the other hand, maybe the exile would extend more. There's always, one thing against the other, good against bad, and so on. But look at what they did. They put so much fear into studying Kabbalah. But this has all passed. We now only need to disseminate the wisdom of Kabbalah as wide as possible, and today no one can say anything about it. And it's a wonder. If you just take the situation from 20 years ago, I remember it was still very scary for people. I remember people looked at me like I'm some sort of a sick person or some miserable person, or they told me, why? What's happening with you? What's wrong? What's this? What's that? There were so many opinions about it, but it's all just dissolved.
Moshe from Los Angeles, he brings up 3 points he wishes to scrutinize, and if you could clarify. First of all, he's saying, how is it proved that there's nothing better for Israel than peace?
Wait, we don't know yet. He only starts here about it. This is what Baal HaSulam does usually. He asks a few questions that he's going to clarify, and the answers come later.
I think that he is asking about the questions.
Oh, it says the Creator will give strength to His people and will bless them with peace. So that's the blessing. What is peace? The peace is what I want to give to you. In my eyes, if you will receive this, then you don't need anything else. This is what he says. from my love to you, from all my heart, this is what I give you. So I need to understand, what is that peace that he wants to give me? Is that really what I need? This is really the ultimate thing that will leave me with no other lack? What is the peace? With whom? I don't understand what it is. But this is what it is written. That peace is the whole light of Ein Sof. I don't know what it includes. Maybe it's above the end of correction, more or less. What does it mean the Creator blesses you with peace? And by that, it is something that closes the whole deal. So I want to clarify this concept. He didn't answer it yet. He only asked about it. That the peace is the blessing itself, and so on. He wants to clarify this. The peace itself is the benefit that I want to receive, but also when I come to benefit the peace, on the way there, I get improved, refined, and upgraded. Meaning, what happens there on the way? So what does he say? That like he gives you a grail, and there's a value to the grail itself and to the wine that is in the grail. You know, it's like you tell me, well, I don't care about that cup, I want the wine. But so why don't we receive the peace right away? You want to give me, give me. No. You'll have to get it after a lot of development. Why? Do I acquire something by that development by which I reach the peace, achieve the peace, and without that development I can't receive it? Meaning there is something here that perhaps can't be without the other, or there is also a great value that I acquire by my development besides the reward itself. So this is the second thing, and why does it connect with the what is the strength and what is the shas? This refers to a process as well. Again, it's just like the Zohar and the Pentateuch. It clarifies for us the path of all the degrees we need to go through in order to reach the end of correction. So this blessing that the Creator will bless His people with peace comes at the end of the Shas. Meaning after I corrected myself, after I went through all the corrections that are written about in the Talmud. Well, it's a lot, it's 2,000 pages. So I'm going through all the corrections of the soul. And if so, why do I eventually come to peace? This is what he wants to clarify here. So he only clarifies that by the end of the article, explaining that by the sin of Adam HaRishon we become integrated with good and bad, and how do we clarify these things by what's called angels, and so on and so forth. Yes. Item 2.
However, accordingly, we need to understand the great concealment applied in the interior of the Torah. As it is said in Masechet Chagiga, one does not study Maaseh Bereshit in pairs, and not the Merkava alone. Also, all the books at our disposal in this trade are sealed and blocked before the eyes of the masses. Only the few who are summoned by the Creator shall understand them, as they already understand the roots by themselves, and in reception from mouth to mouth. It is indeed surprising how the ways of wisdom and intelligence are denied of the people, for whom it is the life and the length of their days. It is seemingly a criminal offense, as about such our sages said in Midrash Rabbah, Bereshit, about Achaz, that he was called Achaz literally translated as held or seized, for he had seized synagogues and seminaries.
Why did Kabbalists and sages of the past, why did they deny the wisdom from people, both godly wisdom and wisdom of this world, from the masses, from common people, besides unique individuals? They told others, you want to engage in this wisdom? Okay, but as a hobby, don't start to disseminate it to others and allow others to benefit from this wisdom as well. You know what, if they live in a cave, let them live in a cave. Why do you want to build, multi-level buildings for them? Why not, they harvest the ground and work on the soil with whatever they work and they manage. Why do you want to build them a tractor? It looks like we are forbidden to enjoy the wisdom, to benefit from the wisdom even in our regular life. Why? Because does it add in bringing you to correction or not? We need to think about it.
Also, it is a natural law that one is possessive concerning dispensing one's capital and property to others. However, is there anyone who is possessive concerning dispensing one's wisdom and intelligence to others? Quite the contrary, more than the calf wants to eat, the cow wants to feed. Indeed, we find such mysteries in the wisdom even in secular sages in previous generations. In Rav Butril's introduction to his commentary on the Book of Creation, there is a text ascribed to Plato, who warns his disciples as follows: do not convey the wisdom unto one who knows not its merit. Aristotle too warned, do not convey the wisdom to the unworthy, lest it shall be robbed. He interprets that if a sage teaches wisdom to the unworthy, they rob the wisdom and destroy it. The secular sages of our time do not do so. On the contrary, they exert in expanding the gates of their sagacity to the entire crowd without any boundaries and conditions. Seemingly, they strongly disagree with the first sages, who opened the doors of their wisdom to only a handful of virtuous few, which they had found worthy, leaving the rest of the people fumbling the walls.
They didn't give the wisdom to the wise. They first gave the wisdom to those who wanted to engage in it, but for the purpose of the wisdom itself, and not for dispensing it to others. They gave the wisdom only to those who wanted it, and nothing but it. So they won't later go and sell it to others in order to get money, honor, power, something. Rather, only ones who crave the wisdom itself. Even if you give me whatever there is in this world, I don't want anything. I only want the wisdom. This means that a person will not sell it, because he wants it and that's it. He can live in that cave himself and be poor and doesn't care. He doesn't care about this because he's immersed in this ideal of knowledge. That's the pleasure for him. We're talking about regular individuals, not Kabbalists here. But these are the kind of individuals that were given wisdom. And it was the same principle in the wisdom of Kabbalah. In the wisdom of Kabbalah, it was even less a problem because no one wanted it. Here, it's something else, because if by the regular wisdoms you can create later weapons and things, and, all those discoveries in the beginning by Archimedes and so on. So in the wisdom of Kabbalah, who needs what it gives you? Bestowing, loving. So there was no fear. But still, it was kept secret.
I simply don't understand. What can you do about this with this wisdom?
What? The wisdom of Kabbalah?
Say there is an egoist.
No, the wisdom of Kabbalah, there's nothing to do with it.
What can you do with these sfirot that it's so harmful and damage will be done?
No. You can't do anything with it. Kabbalists actually taught all the other external sages. This is where philosophy came from and where science came from. Later, all the development of it. But they weren't afraid, because the fact that you teach a person that he has to correct the world from reception to bestowal, you're not giving him any forces, you're not letting him run into any obstacle that doesn't allow him to develop towards correction. On the contrary. So they didn't. It's not that they actually hid the wisdom. No, the wisdom of Kabbalah was open. Look how many, well, you don't know, but there are researches actually about those ancient times showing how much the nations of the world would come and study it and stay and become great sages and great righteous. Not only Unkelus and Rabbi Akiva, even Google it, you'll see. You'll find some information about it, a little bit. Well, there aren't many sources there that you can find, but you can find some things if it interests you. But Kabbalists didn't hid the wisdom. In the days of the prophets, everything was open. What, you think a foreign person couldn't come to the people of Israel and ask, what is this? What is your religion? How does it work? What is it? What, you think there was no trade and commerce, no integration? And you think the people of Israel didn't know that the whole world has to achieve it too? Think they objected it? Of course not. There was never any kind of objection.
Let's say something happened, the oviyut, the coarseness, the desire, they grew. What can you do with something which is merely a correction? It's like medicine. What evil can you bring through it?
This only relates to the last exile. For that time, we had to hide the wisdom of Kabbalah, and this is what is written, as Rabbi Shimon wrote, that this wisdom has to be revealed only at the end of days, because that last exile is a detachment of all the people, including Israel, from the wisdom of Kabbalah. There has to be a suspense, a special work of integration called the integration of the souls, which happens without light, because with the light it'll be the corruption. In the exile, you have to be immersed in the evil to the very bottom. The exile is when the entire evil comes out, and becomes apparent, revealed, as what is called Pharaoh, or the 7 years of satiation, Pithom and Ramses, and so on. But poverty in Israel, so to speak. We need to learn this, and you can also learn this somewhat from the story of Egypt. You need to see how these things happen. And you have to be immersed in the ego. So it is forbidden that something of the wisdom of Kabbalah will be revealed. But besides the last exile, the wisdom of Kabbalah was not concealed. People lived according to it, knew what it is, felt it. Yes, Moti.
You said that the Kabbalists, they did good work to distance the masses from Kabbalah. But correspondingly, ignorance really celebrated. To this day, it's something very fundamental that people have no idea what a Kabbalist is.
It's one who receives.
Okay, but the attainment of divinity, who could think about that?
That's the good thing, because that's the sign that we are really in darkness, in exile. If the wisdom of Kabbalah would be slightly more revealed, it would be a big corruption. Everyone would, turn the whole thing into commerce and rituals, and people would make so many methods of idol worshipping from it, of bowing to people who know how to do all kinds of fortune telling. This is what you have on TV every day. You can find all those astrologists or fortune tellers or all kinds of things. Well, you know what a celebration would happen as a result. People would turn the Zohar into 1,000 different things and rely on it to build a complete system of klipa, because it would become possible to suck from the holiness. The fact that they hid it was a big correction that they made. Even this, because today, relatively, we're in a state where the ego grew, and you as if waited for it to happen and didn't discover the wisdom of Kabbalah until it did. And now you discover the wisdom of Kabbalah, but the ego is already big enough. So you feel, why do I need this wisdom? You can use it. Use it for what? Does it give me money? Does it give me honor, power? Something. Oh, there are some gurus here and there, but it's not really the case. Especially because even money, honor, and power is something that people are not chasing it enthusiastically. They have no motivation for it. So the wisdom of Kabbalah now appears in a state where no one needs it. So using it in a bad way, individuals, just few individuals are doing it here and there, and soon they'll disappear too. And this is a good state, because we can now debunk all the prejudice, and you see that it's dissolving. It's dissolving just like fog, and we'll reach a point where we show what it is. You see, it actually permeates the people, and people begin to absorb it quite quickly, in a simple way. To me, it was much harder. It was much more difficult to understand the essence of the matter. What is it? What's it for? How it works? I was very, very confused. And I'm looking at people, masses of people who come, and look at their questions and their understanding and sense of confidence that it's correct, and not just, bad confidence that's empty, but they understand it's written like this, it says like that. It's So we see that they did a work that was just necessary. It was a must. In the time of exile, nothing of spirituality should have been revealed. It was only a corruption.
Yaakov Sabal from the New Center in Nuremberg says that everything is revealed today, but the problem is that despite everything is revealed, the world not only doesn't want, but hates. He says that he sees that in Europe the people really resist this wisdom. What can you do against that?
That's a transition phase. What can you do? I don't know what to do. Perhaps we still need to explain these things without using the words of Kabbalah, without using the name Kabbalah, about free choice, about the structure of reality, about the balance in nature, how we violate that balance by our ego. Meaning maybe we need to spread more and more articles that are kind of preceding the discovery that the correction happens by the light that reforms. Perhaps, maybe that first part is what we can do in Europe, but the truth is I don't really believe in that. I think that the direct, open dissemination, nevertheless, on our part, showing that there is a wisdom in Israel that is necessary to everyone and that there is no choice, we have to accept it, and this is the key to salvation. And people will accept it, they'll have no choice. So it'll take a few more months and a few more blows. Only by the blows. Unfortunately, eventually, our matter understands that only.
On the other hand, we see that the extension of the Chokhmah is unpredictable. No one could predict that suddenly there will be such a tremendous awakening in the land of Israel. Instantaneously, it just happened so, out of thin air.
Yes.
What is anticipated for us in these developments with respect to the Kabbalah here and the world?
Well, today is the day of holiday of love, you know. Tu B'Av it's called. Why won't Messiah come today? What? Where are you looking at me? This is what I expect. We shouldn't make big calculations. Just work the way we worked so far. Try our 100% best, and how much the world responds is not our job. Leave that to the upper force, to the upper program that has to work the way it does. If I put all I could, if I did all I could, whatever happens is not my calculation. I only need to calculate how to make my dissemination better. But eventually the response is not something I understand, why it works like this or like that. Maybe there will come a point in time where it'll look so hard and gray and nothing works and so on. So what? Who knows? How do you know how it works? Maybe things are cooking beneath the surface and then it will erupt. We don't understand these things, especially now when all the souls are coming into correction in this reciprocal way, and the whole body starts regaining its life. I don't know in what process it should exactly happen. I don't know it. What nations will develop faster or sooner, later? Now we know that it's us and Russians that come, and Americans somewhat. That's also a question. Europe, no. Asia is asleep. But in the next moment, who knows what will happen? No one knows. it all changes all the time, and you don't know where it'll come from. There will be some positive or negative shock somewhere, like shockwave, and then people become responsive emotionally, sensitive to the message, and suddenly things can change drastically. So don't make the calculations what will happen in a year, what will, to me, what I expect is that everything will end. That's it, and we'll rise to the end of correction. There's no set time for that, as Kabbalah Lesson says. If you add your effort as an awakening from below, then there's no time. So why do I need to say, now we are making a plan for the correction of the world for the next year? Good, great, make your plan.
Yesterday there was a very interesting phenomenon at the convention. I talked to dozens of people, and they came up and said, we don't understand exactly what are you saying, but the channel is constantly on in our homes, and it gives this sense of security. People really said, I'm not going to sleep without having the channel in the background. I'm getting up in the morning the same. And really, it's the first time that they got off their chairs, couches, and came to the convention. So what stands behind this phenomenon?
Confidence. True confidence, because eventually we are disseminating the upper force that a person can connect to, cling to, adhere to, be with it, above all the troubles and problems in this life, and attain all the goodness and fulfillment of the purpose of creation that is completely above this darkened world. So of course people sense that there's joy here. It's connecting to good, just like we're saying. We just have to improve a lot. We need to learn a lot from all the people who came to us and how they respond, and those who came for the first time, and accordingly perhaps we have to change a lot on our channel too. The fact that people don't understand, but they only listen because they have a good feeling of like a warm father that can hug you and calm you down. This is excellent. It's excellent. The common people need it. And in truth, this is what needs to happen. They don't need to understand it all. They need to basically support it. And that's it. And only a handful of the people will be those who will actually make the corrections and connections between the light and their souls. It's not up to them. It's not their job. They'll receive what you're saying. Most of them will take it this way. Yes, this is great. I don't exactly understand it, but you're good guys. Good. This is the best.
But nevertheless, those who came, and there are plenty who probably didn't come, those who came, they did something active. They got off their couch, bought a ticket, they came.
Because it's about time. It's probably about a year that these people are watching us, and gradually they become connected. They feel worthiness, because eventually, why does a person come? Because he feels that it's beneficial to him, that it's good for him, and this is good. He sees that he acquires something by it, that it does something good to him, and he continues his life in a different way. These things are very profound that are happening to a person. A person who comes to such an event and then goes back to his normal life, it's not like he just, went to a party or jumped up and down, danced with other people. This is a higher, a profound ideal that addresses the people as much as possible, and the world and people's soul, And this is something that leaves them with a big impression. We'll see many results from this, for sure. And with this, we'll conclude.
Announcements. We're inviting you to the new social site on internet.kbb1.com. Take part in building the daily questionnaires, bring up ideas, build questionnaires. Together, we're building a spiritual environment. Thank you very much. Great day, great night.
הנשמות באות רק ממקום אחד. כל הנשמות בעצם נשמה אחת. כל האנשים היום כל כך מבולבלים, מפחדים ובגדול הם מרגישים תקועים. זהו כפר גלובלי, הקשר וירטואלי. כולם צריכים להתחבר, כולם צריכים להתאחד, זה רק שינוי מנטלי, גם אם ממש לא בא לי, אם טוב לי או רע לי, אם לא נפתח את הלב, נגלה רק כאב, אז בוא תהיה ריאלי. שכח מאחור, את הזמן איש לא יכול לעצור. מספיק לחשוב על איך אפשר כל יום רק לגנוב, כי עכשיו הזמן שלנו לאור. זהו כפר גלובלי, הקשר וירטואלי. כולם צריכים להתחבר, כולם צריכים להתאחד, זה רק שינוי מנטלי, גם אם ממש לא בא לי, אם טוב לי או רע לי, אם לא נפתח את הלב, נגלה רק כאב, אז בוא תהיה ריאלי. זהו כבר גלובלי, הקשר וירטואלי. כולם צריכים להתחבר, כולם צריכים להתאחד, זה רק שינוי מנטלי, גם אם ממש לא בא